Okay. Welcome back to our look at Adventurer Conqueror King's system. Last time we finally moved from the theoretical into the practical. We got to the point where we can start maybe trying to simulate some combat, seeing how the combat flows. Combat is, simultaneously a big part of the system and a little part of the system. If you look at the whole rule book, combat is just one small section here amongst like a billion other things. But a lot of the other things do kind of lead or serve or are part of combat. So, it's going to happen, obviously. It's a fantasy TTRPG. There's probably going to be some combat. And so we tried a little just one-on-one fight and in the wilderness against a goblin. And it was pretty much whoever rolled higher initiative. Well, no, he was unlikely to kill me, and I was quite likely to kill him with our fighter. So a lone goblin, not really that big of a threat to our fighter. These guys are pretty weak. They're pretty short. They're pretty dumb. But in numbers, that's when things get a little trickier. So, we're going to now simulate a bigger combat, and we're going to do it in an interior location, in a dungeon. So we got Owlbear Rodeo here with this, like, jail battle map. And we're going to simulate a combat. Just trying to think of a decent room for this to be in. I don't want it to be in, like, the big main room. A lot of these... Okay, let's do this room. We'll do this room right here. This'll work. So, we're gonna have goblins, right? And they're in here, and they're feasting and partying and causing chaos and stuff. And we'll put... Okay, well, we need to figure out how many we have, right? So a gang of goblins is 2d4. And this is what you'd encounter in a dungeon. And if it's their lair, throughout the whole lair, you'd find probably one warband within the lair. And one warband is 2d6 of those gangs. So going into a goblin lair is going to be, let's see, that's going to be an average of 7 gangs, and each gang is an average of 5. So you're looking at, 35 goblins that you're going to have to deal with one way or another in a lair. Not a small number, but then if you go actually into their village, then you multiply that by a d10, which is going to average out to be like 5 or 6 on average. So yeah, you're definitely looking at around a couple hundred goblins. But that's realistic, and that's how it was in the old days. In the old days, actually, it's often brought up with like random encounter charts that it is very possible for you to randomly encounter 300 orcs. And obviously that's not just like you turn around the corner and there's 300 orcs. This is like in the distance or something, based on like the range encounter rules and the terrain and everything. You might see 300 orcs, or they might see you, or both, or blah blah blah. But yeah, things were kind of steered more towards just like, well, there's not going to just be a pack of 4 goblins necessarily just wandering around waiting for you to kill them. Much like humans, there's always safety in numbers. Anyway, so let's roll 2d4 for this gang in this room. This is going to average out to 5, and I think that's a reasonable number. We got 8. That's probably too high. That was a max roll. Let's just go with the average of 5. I think it's fair. Now it says each Goblin Gang will be led by a champion who also has 3 AC, has 1 hit die, so he'll have a couple more. Oh, actually, it says he has 7 health. Okay. So most of them will have 3. This guy has 7. And he's the big boy. I think he's part of the gang's number, though. So we'll have 4 normal dudes. And then we'll have the big guy. We'll use this guy as our 7 health. The leader of this little pack. The strongest among them. It makes sense. Okay, so that's what's in there. And we're going to try to incorporate a few rules here. So one of the rules we're going to test is surprise. And we're going to give ourselves the most optimal situation. Where we know they're in there, we can hear them clamoring up a storm, and we want to kick in the door. To surprise them. Alright, so we're all here. And we have our fighter, our explorer, our crusader, and our mage. Alright. And this is dungeon rules, so these numbers are as written for our encumbrance and movement speed and stuff. Everything is set. So the first thing that you'd have to do is actually kick open the door. Which is a dungeon bashing. But that might not be, it might not be dungeon bashing because it's not stuck. I mean, we're assuming that it's not stuck, right? So, I mean, opening an unlocked, unstuck door, pull aside a curtain is just a movement action. So I don't think, I'm pretty sure dungeon bashing is specifically stuck shit. Bash down stuck doors as a combat action by succeeding on the proficiency throw. So I think in this case, you probably just allow it. It's just a door that's just could be open, but we're kicking it in because it's cooler. Whereas a stuck door is like, okay, that's actually impeding us. You know, there's a complication there. So I think in this case, we don't roll. We're just kicking open this door that we could open. You know, we're not even, you know, we're bashing through with our shoulder or something as we move in, or, you know, whatever. So then we get into surprise. And I mean, this is the exact example that they provide of, we know they're in there, they don't know we're here, we kick in. So we both have line of sight on each other, and we have foreknowledge. So we can't be surprised because we know they're there. But they have to roll for surprise. And you can confirm this on the surprise matrix. We have force knowledge and line of sight. They just have line of sight. So monsters roll for surprise. Adventurers are not surprised, but adventurers can evade in this situation. So it is possible then in this case, we kick open the door, we know that they're in there, but maybe we didn't know that there was like 8 in there or something like that, or there was like a really quiet like troll that was just sitting in the corner, and now it's like, oh fuck, we want to evade. So in that case, you can then go to the evasion thing. And this is based on your party size and the terrain. Oh no, this cannot happen in dungeons, ever. You can never evade. You can just run away during the course of a combat. So we would roll for surprise, and depending on how that goes, one way or another, we could then just spend our first round running away. But yes, you cannot roll for automatic evasion. This is only in the wilderness or at sea, but that's handled separately. Sea voyages. So this is really just for wilderness. Okay. All right, so we're going to roll for surprise. I don't think they get any bonus or penalty or anything like that. Not that I see. I do see here that unless special troops are present, 50% of gangs or war bands encountered will be archers, 50% will be warriors. I don't think that's to suggest that half of each gang is archers. I think that literally means that half of the gangs that you encounter will be entirely archers and half will be warriors. I think. But at the same time, I don't know how interesting that is compared to just splitting it up 50-50. So I don't know exactly what that means, how I'm supposed to read that, but we will we'll interpret as half of the group is archers and half is warriors. Although it says 50% round up for archers. So on an odd number, there will be more archers than warriors. Anyways, all right, so they get no bonus or penalty or anything like that. This is literally just a D6, and we see what it. They're only surprised on a 1 or a 2. They got a 2, so they are surprised. Well, that makes this a lot easier. Yeah, and we do, I think, have... So our explorer is really good at avoiding surprise. And it definitely seems like each player rolls for their own surprise check. What I'm not so certain about... I think each monster is going to roll for this as well. I suppose that's more fair. Not all monsters are equal. Okay. So you can do it by group or individual. And that goes for monsters and players. So if you're doing individual, you each get your own bonuses or whatever, penalties to surprise. But if you do group, then you use the average bonus across the group. Individual, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I feel like, I don't know, I guess group surprise is fine, because that means if you have one person that's really good at avoiding surprise in your group, they kind of spread that bonus all around, and that does help the whole group rather than just one person. So I suppose group is probably better, and it's just a lot fucking faster on the enemy side. So I guess we'll go with group on both sides, if I ever were to get into that kind of situation. Because it's really only our explorer that gets a bonus. So the example is the explorer has a +2 to avoid surprise. The fighter gets no bonus. With group surprise, both explorer and fighter get a +1 on their surprise roll. I don't really know how. I mean, I wish the example included more than 2 characters, because I feel like that's a really... it's too simple of an example. What if I have 4 characters and I have a +2 on one character? Does that just mean nothing? That can't mean nothing, right? But it's not going to be +2, clearly, based on this example. But I also don't know if I just say, well, normally it's +2, but because it's a group, it's going to be +1. I mean, I guess you can say that. Who's going to question you? The only one that's going to question you is if they actually read the fucking rulebook, and no one's doing that. I don't know. Hard to say. And obviously, we don't have to worry about it right now. Okay, so all the goblins in here are surprised. So we get a full round where they can't do jack shit. Right? Just... they're vulnerable and they cannot take any actions in the first round of the encounter. It is pretty bad. I mean, I feel like this changes a lot of this whole fight. But alright. Now we each roll individual initiative. And I should have the initiative tracker here. Except, you know, your initiative changes every single round. Which, again, I don't really care for because there's just so much more bookkeeping. But, I mean, you know, you don't really... yeah, I mean, you do generally need to know, like, the exact number. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't prefer it. Compared to, like, Weird Wizard or Demon Lord or something, where it's just, like, you kind of get to pick. Just, do you want to go before the monsters or do you want to go after the monsters? And each kind of has its pros and cons, depending on what your choice is. Or if you do still want to have initiative with some chance involved, just like group-based initiative, you know. There's multiple ways to do that, but usually the DM rolls once for his whole side with, like, you know, the highest bonus among them. And then maybe the players roll all their individual initiatives, and, like, if at least half of them beat your number, then they get to go first. Otherwise, DM goes first. You know, there's just a lot of ways to really simplify initiative rather than round-based rolling individually. It's just not my preferred way, but I also don't know if you could house rule this for acts. I mean, I think you could. I mean, say you did that. You did group initiative. DM rolls once with whatever's the highest bonus amongst his side, and then the players roll individually with whatever bonuses they might have, and as long as half of them roll higher than the DM, their side gets to go first. The only thing that kind of fucks with really would be like spellcasting. But even still, like, spellcasting is possible for you to start a round, declare you're casting a spell, and then roll really high initiative and just cast it immediately with no repercussion. So group-based initiative like that does make that more likely to occur. But if your side doesn't go first and the enemies all go first, that means all of them get to go and potentially interrupt your spell. I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily house rule just because I'd be afraid of breaking things like that. But yeah, Alright, so our fighter, the only one with a bonus to initiative is our explorer. Actually, I feel like our mage actually has a negative initiative. Because it does determine it's based on your dex. bonus or penalties apply to attack throws with missile weapons, armor class value, and initiative die rolls. So our mage actually does have -1, which is really bad. Makes it even harder to get spells off. But yeah, that's it. Okay, so the fighter gets a 5. Then we'd go into our Owlbear Rodeo here, and we'd set their initiative at 5, right? Then next, the Barizon Explorer gets a 7. It's pretty good. Our Sorcerer, our Mage, gets a 0. And you can have it at 0. And the Crusader gets a 3. And I don't think we have to roll for the other side, because it doesn't really matter. They don't get a turn. I don't think so. So, alright, so the Explorer is going first. Now, the rules for shooting through someone was that they can't be engaged, right? Yeah. You can fire through unengaged targets without any problem. Shocking. I mean, I'm shocked that, like, it doesn't block line of sight. It doesn't even provide cover or anything like that, because I've definitely seen that in games. This is just, no, take your fucking shot. So I guess he'll move here, and we'll get line of sight on this little goblin. So he's going to move, and he's going to fire his short bow. I mean, we would have had all our weapons, like, out and ready, obviously. Which is really, like, an obnoxious thing of, like, a character sheet like this kind of paper doll system. I'm like, well, technically my short bow most of the time's on my back, but let me erase that now, because now it's in my right hand. It's like, oh god. On a digital version, it's not that big of a deal, but even still, it's a little annoying. Alright, so they have an AC of 3. So we need to roll a 13 or higher. We get no bonus. My Explorer is not very good. But they are vulnerable, which means we get to use ambushing. If it's within short range, which this is, it's within range 75 for sure. So we get +4 on the die, which means we need to roll a 9 or higher, and we'll deal 2d6 damage. So, alright, 9 or higher on this d20. We rolled a 20. Guaranteed hit. I don't think there's any specific rules for crits, other than it just is like a guaranteed hit. I don't ever remember seeing like a crit, like doubling damage or anything like that, because I don't think that was the case back then. So it's just a good hit. So this is 2d6 plus 1 damage. 5 damage against this guy right here is a kill. Dead. I mean, he's not dead, but he's dead. All right, excellent shot. Nice ambush. That +4 didn't really matter in the end, but that is a big swing when you don't have any bonus on your roll normally. Okay, and that's the Explorer's whole turn. He's done. Then the fighter gets to go. Now, he could charge, but there's not really any reason to charge. I think, because charging is a straight line. You do get a +2 bonus on the attack throw, which is pretty big. But if he charges at this guy, it'll most likely kill him. But then he can't cleave anything. Oh, no, he can throw. He's got a Francisca that he could throw at somebody else. Yeah, fuck it, dude. We're a fucking, like, raider, man. We're a Viking. We can do whatever the hell we want. Let me just look at Berserker Gang exactly. Anytime you take a combat action. So I think that's, like, probably right before you do the action, I would guess. You get a +2 bonus to attack those in melee or thrown weapons, become immune to cower and falter and frightened. And you never check morale, but you get a -2 penalty to AC. Can never do defensive movement, and you cannot move in such a way that would increase the distance between you and the nearest visible threat. Fuck it, we'll charge. This plummets my AC down to nothing, by the way, with Berserker Gang. But we charge in with our axe, and we actually get +2 from that and +2 from Berserker Gang for a +6 on the roll. And the target number here is 13. Okay, we definitely hit. Beautiful. Berserker Gang doesn't buff our damage at all, but it's 1d10 +3, so it's a guaranteed kill no matter what. I guess I rolled an 8. Either way, whatever I roll, it doesn't matter. He's dead. Fucking dead. Right now we have a -4 AC. And Berserker Gang said that I have to... I must advance 5 feet after cleaving, if necessary to do so to engage an enemy and I have sufficient movement. And going back to cleaving, I can take a 5-foot step toward another target in line of sight prior to making the cleave attack. But there's no one within 5 feet after killing the target that I can engage. And I have a cleave remaining. I have 1 cleave. So I can expand a cleave to hurl a thrown weapon. I assume that's instead of moving 5 feet as well. So 5 feet doesn't get me anywhere to a target. So we're going to throw a my Francisca at this guy. And I maintain charge, but I think charge is only for melee attacks, if I recall. Which would make sense. Yeah, it's a melee attack. So no, we don't get that +2, but we still get Berserker Gang. So this is a +4 on this Francisca towards that guy. D20. No problem. And again, this is like a guaranteed kill of 1d6 +3. 7 damage. Dead. Yeah, dude. Fucking Viking God. Charging in, decapitating a goblin, throwing a hatchet at another one. That's badass, man. Obviously, a big part of this was the surprise. But that's the point. That's how it should work. You know, like, again, like the Skirple's Monster Overhaul book. One of the first things that's stated in there is a fair fight is a fight you've already lost. And I told that to my family when DMing for them like 5 times, and they always just looked at me like deer in the headlights of like, I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about? And it's like, God, that's how old school is done. Like, if you're gonna have to get into a fight, if you're gonna do a fight, you want to stack the odds as much as you can in your favor. And surprise, an ambush is a big part of that. If you can pull it off, it's amazing. But if you get ambushed, you know, you fucked up, and you probably should run as soon as you can. And these guys will probably run as soon as they can. But, we'll see. Now, technically, I fucked up, because if I wanted to cast a spell, I needed to declare that at the start of the round. So let's pretend that I did, because I would have wanted to cast Blinding Flash here. So, she's going to go last. to cast that spell. She rolled very shitty initiative. So Crusader then is going to go. We could cast a spell, but it's kind of unnecessary. So I think we're just going to move. She can move 30 here. So I don't know if that actually gets us there, because that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It doesn't get us anywhere near there. And we have no throwing weapons of any kind. We would have had to declare a spell at the start if that was our intention. So we can't really do anything. Because I can't charge. I didn't have a straight line. We can run in a straight line or gradual curve. And that's really up to the DM of, like, what is a gradual curve? It's not just double your movement speed or triple your movement speed and you're done. There is some finesse to it. You can't just be making 90-degree right angles all the time. So honestly, there's just... Yeah, I think the best thing probably would be to just put our shield up and defend. Because... well, or we could move up and engage this guy, I guess. Because we can move twice in any direction if we spend our other action. So I guess 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We'll move up. Because we got pretty good AC. We got okay hit points. I mean... You know, we're kind of meant to be a frontliner here. All right, then the mage gets to go, and we're gonna cast Blinding Flash. So let's go back to the spell. Here we go, Blinding Flash. So it's a 90-foot range, assuming we have line of sight, and I'm pretty certain we do. To like here. Yeah, that's perfect line of sight. Awesome. Because this would be then each creature within 10 feet of the Blinding Flash must make a blast saving throw. So right there is where we want. You know, it's a really interesting thing having to state that at the start of the round that you're going to cast a spell, and you have to pick the spell, because that's before you even roll initiative. So A, you don't know if you're even going to get the spell off. You might get hit before then. And B, you don't know the state of the battlefield or anything when you make that declaration. It's just like, fuck it, I'm casting Blinding Flash this round. It's going to happen. Probably. So, you know, whatever the situation is when I get my initiative, I'm casting it. I mean, I assume you can, like, cancel it? Actually, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could just send it off into the ether and not care about it, but... Alright, so blast saving throw. They would get a bonus if they were in cover for blast saving throws, but they are not. Not from this. And their saves are F0. Fucks 0. Oh, fighter 0. That's what that is. 0 level fighter. It's kind of annoying that it just doesn't list all the shit, because then we have to go to this table specifically. This is why you want to have reference sheets. Definitely want to have reference sheets available. So here we see that they succeed on blast on a 16 or higher. So the little guy fails, the big guy fails. They both fail Blinding Flash. Now I lost Blinding Flash. Why did I close that? Alright, so they take 1d6 fire damage and are blinded until the end of their next initiative, which is pretty big. Pretty fucking big. Alright, so the little guy takes 2 damage. He does not die. He's got 1 health left. The big guy takes 4 damage. Also not dead. So then, let's see here. I'm going to gonna add them both to the grimoire. So this guy is at 3 health out of 7. This guy's at 1 out of 3. Okay. And that was our one spell for the whole day. Was it amazing? No. I mean, not really. Although blinded is pretty nice if we look at the condition for blinded. They suffer a -2 penalty to surprise rolls. Cannot make free facing change when it... Oh, yeah. Fucking facing, dude. Holy shit, did I forget about that. Because I don't know. Did surprise... Does that prevent free facing changes? It didn't matter at all. Everything kind of died. But I think they can make free facing changes. But even if they face you, they're still vulnerable. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can still face. But yeah, you see the problem here with VTTs, right? Like, with these little tokens and stuff, facing is ridiculous. Like, it's going to be practically impossible to keep a specific idea of where any of these things are facing. So I don't know how you're meant to do that on a VTT. I don't know if there's an axe module for Foundry or something that might add little arrows to every token or something so you can see. Most of the time, it's probably relatively, like, known. Like, right now, this guy is facing the Crusader, and this guy is probably facing, you know, this direction or, you know, this direction or something. He's facing one of these two directions. Interestingly, Blinding Flash does not account in any way for facing. Even though you'd think it's like a flashbang, it kind of is important if they're looking at it. But no, it's just guaranteed if they're in the vicinity. Yeah, facing. Jeez. Completely forgot about it. Because it's just such an alien concept in a game like this. To me, at least. I've never encountered a game that cared. Usually, all you care about is, like, if a target is... And many games don't even go this far, but there are plenty of games where they care if a target is flanked. So, sometimes that's really minor, where all it means is you have to have, like, 2 or more allies next to it. And it's counted as flanked, and you might get a bonus or something. Sometimes it's a bit more tactical than that, and it is soon, like 4th edition D&D, you know, it's entirely based around being on a grid. And so there you might have to have 2 characters on opposite sides of a monster. But that, you still don't care which way the monster is facing. It's clear that it can't face both of you because it's flanked on either side. But to go one step further to actually care about facing, yeah, it's very new to me. Okay, that was the round. So now a new round begins. Anyone that wants to declare a spell would have to do so, and anyone that wants to declare a defensive maneuver would have to do so. Including the enemies. Now, the enemies are blinded. So let's look again at exactly what that means. So they, yeah, we got distracted by facing. So they cannot make free facing changes when engaged. They cannot claim line of sight on any target except by touch. Cannot make missile attacks. They can make melee attacks at -4 penalty if it has reason to know the target is there. They suffer a -4 penalty to all proficiency throws impacted by sight, and all of its speed reduced to 1/3 its normal rate, unless it has another way to see. So there's nothing that says they can't make defensive maneuvers or anything like that. It's just their speed is going to be pretty slow. And it doesn't even impact their initiative, interestingly. So, I think they're both going to announce a intent to withdraw, retreat. I don't know. Retreat's pretty specific because you have to pick a direction and then run in that direction. It's not just like, oh, well, we back up and we walk away and then we're all happy and then, you know, we run our full speed. So you have to pick a direction and run. Whereas withdraw is a bit more flexible. You move away at up to half combat speed and you can change facing as many times as desired. So I guess they're going to withdraw. And then after you withdraw, I suppose you can march then, as long as you're not engaged at the start of the march. So that's probably more what you're interested in. It's not as far of movement, because withdrawing is half speed, march is combat speed, whereas retreating is your running speed. You are just sprinting in a direction. So if you're in an open corridor, plenty of space that you know you can just run and retreat. But in this case, they're both going to announce an intent to withdraw. Do they have to declare specifically one or the other, or... I think they declare that they're doing a defensive movement. I don't think they have to declare what one they're specifically doing. What I'm curious about, I guess, is... also, we should have rolled for morale, because this is not guaranteed that they would run. I just assumed it, but it's not guaranteed. Right, so I'm just a little unclear as to why they have to declare a defensive movement. I guess because it's then like, you can't change your mind. You can't declare a defensive maneuver like, oh yeah, I'm gonna withdraw this turn, and then like you go pretty late or something, and you see that maybe the battle is swung the other way, and like you're winning. It's like, no, you declared, so you're running. That's it. Or you're withdrawing. But you could withdraw and possibly just end up engaged with a different enemy that you could then attack. Yeah, I mean, I guess. All right, so let's go to the morale rules, because we need to roll that. And we need to calculate exactly what their modifier is. This is a 2d6 roll. I think they actually get -1 on morale. Yep, they do. They're very, very scared. Very scared, cowardly little goblins. So they get -1 automatically. And you roll this per creature. Or per group. I think you can do either one. So I guess we'll roll for the group. They'll stick together as a group. I probably will always do that, really, unless they're literally fighting a solitary creature. Okay, so the group has lost 2/3 or more starting creatures. Let's see, they had 5, they lost 3. Yes, I think that's exactly 2/3. Give or take. I think so. So that's That's a -5, so I had -6 right now. And that's it. Okay, yes. So -6 on this roll. That's a 5. So morale faltering. So they begin faltering, suffer a -2 penalty to make attack throws, proficiency throws, saving throws versus the enemy. They stop faltering if at the end of their initiative they're no longer engaged by any enemies. They will usually attempt a fighting withdrawal to end the condition. They might surrender if offered fair and reasonable terms. Now, is a fighting withdrawal different than a withdrawal? Or is this just your term for it? No, okay, that's the only mention of that. So I think they just mean they'll withdraw, but maybe they fire off a arrow or something on the way, or who knows what. But they're trying to get away, but they're not like panicking and sprinting out of here. Because they rolled a fucking 11, really. Really good roll most of the time. Okay, but yeah, -2 penalty to attack throws, and they're blinded, which is pretty bad because that's like a -4 if they know that the enemy's there. All right, so now we're gonna roll initiative for everyone. They're declaring their withdrawals. We're not declaring any spells or anything like that. So our fighter gets a 5, which is what he's at. The explorer gets a 4. The wizard, the mage gets a 3. Crusader gets a 6. Nice. Don't think they had any penalty or bonus to initiative. I think we already went over this. It's not even listed, really, but yeah, I mean, I assume that it would be listed if there was a bonus. I assume it would be listed somewhere on these. Yeah, I guess it must be pretty uncommon to get initiative bonuses. Yeah, I think it might be listed in their combat stats there if it was. Okay, so yeah, then we'll just roll for the big guy. He got a 5 as well. And the little guy got a 4. Now remember, ties go to whichever side has more members currently. And if there's an equal number, then the monsters go first. So our high number is a 5 for our fighter, and our side has more, so we're going first. And he's gonna go 5, 10, 15, 20. I think he might be a speed 20. No, he's speed 30. 25, 30. We didn't really discuss diagonal movement like ever. Did that never get mentioned? When in doubt, go with the every other movement costs double. Yep. When measuring along diagonals, count every 2 squares as 15 feet. So every other square is 10 when doing diagonal. That's sort of the typical rule, I think, or the best way to go about it. And we can we're not really attacking diagonally because our facing is diagonal. So we're attacking straight on always. It's just we're facing diagonally. He was facing us because when the Crusader initially moved up, he did his facing change. So this is technically his front. We're not attacking him from a flank here. Which I would have liked to attack from a flank, but we can't quite get there with our limited move. And shockingly, we don't get any bonus for him being blinded. Okay. So then, really, we're just getting the +2 from Berserker Gang. So this is a +4. We need a 9 or higher, as usual. Miss. Nothing you can do about that. Yeah, nothing we can do about that. Okay, so then the big guy gets to go. Now he's blinded. You'd think that that would really impact his ability to make it out of this room. So he's gonna withdraw, which means that he can just move. But he's at 1/3 speed, and then he can move up to half his. You can move up to half that. Then you have to look at his fucking speed. It's 20. So 1/3 of that is what? Rounded down 6? Move 6 feet? And he can move half of that? Can he even move a square? Is this even a legal maneuver for him? I don't know. I'd give it to him. I'd give it to him as a DM. Why not? Okay, he withdraws to there. So he steps away. And then he can just move. He can do a march at normal speed. Well, normal for him is 6, I guess, because of the blinded. That's really debilitating. So he can move like here. That's what he got. That's his whole turn. Because, I mean, he could... I don't think he has a ranged weapon. I think I was counting him as one of the 2 warriors. So, no, he can't really do much. He could have maybe raised his shield, I guess. Instead of moving further back. But I think he's panicking a little bit. Because he's faltering. Oh, we did get a bonus for faltering, didn't we? Ah, a lot to remember. No, he gets a penalty for faltering. Yeah, okay. Then we go down to 4, and... Oh, wait, I forgot about our Crusader who's supposed to go first! Let's pretend he hasn't gone yet. Crusader gets to make a swing here. Nothing fancy. It's just going to be a swing of a mace. So this is... Because again, you can't maneuver around an opponent. We do so, even though he's blinded, we can't just like shift around to his ass and poke him in the butt. That's not allowed. So this is just straight up a swing, and I think we need a 13 or higher. I find it a little shocking that blinded does not provide vulnerable. I mean, we could attempt to, like, knock him down to make it easier, but he's practically dead, so I think we just want to try and hit him. So, yeah, it's just a 13 or higher and call it a day. And it's a hit. So that's a D6 worth of damage. Because we're one-handing our mace. 6 damage. He is quite dead. So forget that that ever happened. So that would have actually happened first before the warrior even went. Before our fighter went. And he was what, like here? Here? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I think he was here. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help Because we'd have to run over this table. Which is a... Did we see... Oh, God. Was there, like, difficult terrain or something? Where would that even be listed? Difficult terrain, such as running up an accumulation of scree and talus, of course. Well, that's if you're running in difficult terrain. So we wouldn't necessarily be running here. So all I want to know is, like, what does it take for me to walk across this table? Assuming I don't want to jump or anything like that. I don't think it's really a balance thing. This is why most games just has, like, difficult terrain. It costs double movement to enter the tile or something like that. I don't really see that anywhere. It could be somewhere in this book. I mean, that would certainly be my quick and dirty rule. Just to move things along is just like the standard. Yeah, it costs double movement. So if we wanted to do that, it would be like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Assuming we're spending our whole turn double marching. 40, 45. And then he wouldn't be able to change facing, so we are flanking him currently. But that's it. I don't know. Maybe I'll find the rule at some point, but that's how I would do it. Okay, then the Explorer gets to go. Except... oh shit. Maybe I didn't want to engage with the fighter, because now we have the problem of... Let's see here. So this isn't through an intervening engaged ally. But he's not engaged with me. Because he's not facing me. Right? We're pretty clear on that, right? Engaged, you gotta be facing him. We were almost certainly quite clear on that. Damn, where was engaged at? Why is that not just in the combat section? Oh, engagement. A combatant that is facing an opponent within 5 feet engages that opponent. Yeah, he is not engaged with me because he could not make a free facing change because he's blinded. So, in that case, we are not shooting at a target engaged with an allied target. As far as I can see. And we're not shooting through an intervening engaged ally. So I think we're just good. Our Explorer can move. He's pretty hefty. He can only move 20. So 5, 10, 15, 20. But I'm pretty sure this is legitimate. Perfect shot. No problem. And this is... he's facing us. He's not vulnerable. There's no ambush or anything like that. So it's literally just 13 or higher. Miss. Just a wild, wild miss. Okay, that is what it is. Then he gets to go. He was withdrawing. So now he decides, you know, which way he's going to withdraw. But his speed is also cut to the same thing. So he can really just do this and this. He has a bow, but he has no idea where anyone is, really. I don't think. I mean, maybe he knew where the Crusader was before he got blinded. So I guess I could do a roll there. But it's not going to be very good for him. No, you can't make any missile attacks. No. Okay, never mind. So I think he can still hear. So honestly, he probably would know that the fighter is there, but he had to withdraw. You declared that you have to withdraw. So there's no ifs, and, or but. And if you don't have a melee weapon and you didn't move into... Yeah, if you didn't... Yeah, he's blinded. So yeah, that's it. Then the mage. The mage can't really do much. We didn't declare a spell, and we don't have another spell. And I guess we have darts. So I can move 30 feet and maybe throw a dart, but it's going to be at a pretty hefty penalty. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Jeez. And then you talk about that, and that's 40 feet. So I guess that's at a -2 penalty. Fuck it. I mean, we still can... Oh, but I also have a -1 for ranged weapons because of my bad deck. So it's a -1. So this is -3 total. So I need a 16 or higher to hit. Pretty unlikely, but it would be badass. No, of course not. Alright, so that's that. Now, I mean, I think you re-roll morale again, right? He's a solitary creature. He's definitely rolling a -6, but he's no longer blinded, so that's good. He's also no longer faltering, because he ended his initiative engaged by 0 enemies. I feel like -6 should be heftier, but I suppose so. Okay, so he got a 2, so now he's frightened retreat. So that means on his turn, he's frightened, can't do anything, he can't attack, can't do anything but scream and run away from the enemy at full speed. Which is funny to think because of the way dungeons are and stuff. He'll basically just sprint right into, like, a wall? He can't turn at 90-degree angles while running. So he just runs into a wall? Is that how I'm meant to run this? I don't know. But then, yeah, so we do all our D6 initiatives. Does he declare that he is retreating? I don't think so. Because he's not engaged, so he actually... I don't know if he can declare. So, okay, we're just rolling. So, our fighter got a 6... Our explorer got a 4. Yep. Our mage got a 0 again. And our crusader got a 4. And then the poor little goblin guy got a 1. No, he got a... Yeah, he got a 1. Alright. So the fighter's going first, and obviously just stepping up with his big axe and rolling his d20. I think he missed again. Although... No, yeah, he would have made the free facing change. Because he can... I think... Actually, can he do that? He is frightened. Let's look. Must retrieve from the source of its fear with running speed until condition ends. An engaged creature that is frightened will cower in terror until it's able to disengage with defensive movement. Does he automatically become cowering as soon as I engage him? Or does he become cowering on his turn when he realizes he can't flee? Because that's a pretty big difference. He's either vulnerable or not. I would say he's probably vulnerable, right? I think we can probably agree on that. So really we just get a +2 to this roll. Yeah, we'll just get the +2 on the roll. So I rolled a 5. Which was lame. So Berserker Gang, so it's a total of +6 to the roll, which is an 11. That does not beat his initiative or his armor. We needed a couple more points there. It's a good, getting +6 on a roll at level 1 is pretty nice, but not good enough for that kind of shitty roll. Yeah. All right. So that was that. Then next up would be the Explorer or the Crusader. I guess the Explorer is going to go. And we'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I think that's correct. But I'm not quite... Well, he's engaged. So he couldn't make a facing change, right? So I think in this case it is correct. But if he was unengaged and I moved here, I think that would be an engagement, right? Because he would face change and we'd be facing each other. I don't think I could then move here. I think we're within his reach at that point, so we'd stop there and become engaged. But in this case, we can keep going, and now we're at his rear. Doesn't matter, he's vulnerable either way, but yeah, and then we swing. That's probably also going to be a miss here, because we have no real bonuses, so it's really just the +2. So that's a 9, and we needed a 13. Well, we needed, yeah. So also a miss. We can't hit this little bastard. It's ridiculous. But then the Explorer will go. So here, 5, 10, 15, 20. I think that's not going. But this guy is engaged. And I don't think we can actually fire at him, right? Now he's actually engaging a target. And we don't have precise shooters, so missile attacks at enemy targets engaged with allied attacks are not permitted at all unless you have precise shooting. And even then, it would be at a -4 penalty. So no, this is not going to happen. The only thing I could maybe do is start moving in with my scimitar, but I don't think it's necessary. And then the Goblin gets to go. He just cowers in fear, begging for mercy. Actually, I think he's just screaming in terror. This is where we could, like, take him captive or knock him out or something, but fuck him. We're gonna kill him. And then the Mage goes, yeah, I mean, I can throw... No, I can't throw a dart. It's a ranged attack. We could move 30 feet, but I don't... Yeah, whatever. So I think that's the round again. This is probably where you just hand wave and say, yeah, you kill him, because why would you bother going through all this again and just keep rolling? The outcome is pretty clear now, but just for the sake of, you know, completing the combat fully for learning, our fighter got a 1. Our explorer gets a 5. Our mage gets a 5. Our crusader gets a 3. And the little goblin gets a 5. Now, I don't know if you'd... I don't think you'd keep making morale rolls, right? You roll each round thereafter that another creature in the group is killed. Or for a solitary creature, each round that they take damage. So we're not re-rolling morale here. It doesn't like... Because nothing has changed his mind about the situation. He is going to declare defensive movement, though, to withdraw. But he's in a pickle there because, yeah, he can't really go anywhere. He can withdraw 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh, no, he doesn't go first. The mage does go first, but I don't think the... Oh, the explorer also goes first. With 3 5s here. So the explorer can't shoot and can't charge because that's a full round action and I don't have a melee weapon out. Oh, unless you... No, you could drop your bow and pull out a weapon from your belt. And that's not an action. Dropping a weapon and drawing a new one does not require an action in lieu of movement. So we could just do that, and we could charge here and hit him right here with our scimitar. Yes. And we dropped our bow, and we're just sick of this thing. We want to destroy him. Destroy him! So this is just going to be... He's vulnerable still. So we do get the +4 from ambushing now. Thankfully. So yeah, just... We need a 9 or higher, as usual. We got it. Finally. Alright. This is 2d6 plus 1. 9 damage. Decapitated. Done. Combat over. Okay. Whew. Now, like any crunchy system, the first combats you do, or maybe even the first like 10 combats you do, are all going to be pretty slow, pretty rough. It's not going to feel great right out the gate compared to something much more narrative and lightweight. Like, compare the first combat you do in this game compared to the first combat you might do with, like, I don't know, Shadow Dark or Dungeon World or something like that, where it's just like, the rules are very basic, everyone kind of gets it, and it's more just like describing what you want to do or something, and then there's one d20 roll and you're done. This is obviously much crunchier. There's a lot of specific rules. Also, you know, like do the first fight with Pathfinder or something like that, 2nd edition or 1st edition. I mean, it's going to be slow going for a lot of groups. So it's hard to really comment on how this feels. But it's funny kind of how swingy it was. at the start, like our fighter rushes in, cuts down one with his big axe, throws a hand axe at another one, kills that one. It's just like, oh fuck yeah, this is brutal and badass. And then the rest of the fight was like, oh my god, why can't I hit this stupid little thing? You know, it's just like, and you're looking up like 30 different conditions and specific rules for movement and withdrawing, and yeah. And the thing is, like, that initial volley of you know, couple attacks from our fighter, that felt really badass. But there's a lot of systems like that. You know, there's a lot of systems where you can just feel like a badass fighter cutting down, you know, whatever. Plenty of fantasy D20 games have that, and especially if you play with like minion rules or something like that, where enemies just can just die in one hit regardless because they're little weenies, and it's just like, yes, yes, carnage, yes, bloodshed, I love this. I think that surprise out the gate, which was a 33% chance, really, it was pretty slim odds. I think that was a huge swing. Because if that had been no surprise and we just did individual initiatives down the line, you know, probably half the goblins would have gone before half of my team. And maybe, you know, that guy that I charged, maybe he had a bow and he could have fired to interrupt the fighter at the start, and then a couple more arrows get volleyed at like the mage or something. I mean, it could have gone very differently had that not succeeded. I don't know. What are my overall thoughts? It's really hard to say after just like one little fight like that. I mean, I wouldn't rate it particularly high among all like fantasy D20 based games that I've experienced. I wouldn't rate it particularly high because I'm not really sure what it does better than any other game. There's definitely a lot of weight to combat. It definitely seems pretty high lethality, but practically all OSR games are high lethality. That's kind of the point. So, again, I don't have a great deal of OSR experience. And actually, before I looked at Axe, before I decided to do this, I was actually thinking about taking a look at Old School Essentials, just to like dive into that and kind of get a feel for like, you know, just an actual old school D&D game. But this kind of interested me a little bit more. And there is a lot of interesting stuff with Axe. I've already like stolen the template idea for Weird Wizard, just to speed up character creation a bit. There's a lot of interesting things with it. Just don't know if the combat specifically is something that I would really want to like delve deeper into and devote a lot of time to. Basically, generally, I want one of two things. I want really interesting, you know, lengthy tactical combat with plenty of options on both sides. So plenty of options for the DM, like, you know, like 4th edition D&D kind of stuff where monsters have multiple abilities and they can do all sorts of, you know, they can rearrange the battlefield and they can buff their allies, and you know, all sorts of interesting options for all the monsters every round, and just as many or more options for all the players, you know. So the fighters get cool options of like, you know, actual abilities, maybe special weapon abilities, cleave abilities, things like that. Mages get a shit ton of fun combat, you know, spells and things like that. Just loads of stuff going on, like a board game. Or I want the opposite end. I want really lightweight, really kind of narrative focused, not bogged down by rules almost at all, and just kind of a rulings over rules situation. Something more like Shadow Dark, you know, where there's definitely rules. It's definitely lethal. There's not gobs of abilities for everything, but it allows for a lot more freedom of creativity within a situation. So usually those, you're not going to be running too many with a grid and strict square counting or anything like that. It's much more freeform and lightweight. Those are usually the two ends of the spectrum that I'm interested in. So having a system that is a lot of rules, high lethality, and very slow without many special abilities happening, then it's like, okay, yeah. Because you could obviously make this more narrative and stuff. I mean, you can, like in the OSR vein, you can you can flip over tables, and you can do all sorts of stuff. You could, I ran over the table there to, as part of the terrain and blah. There's options for you. But rather than keeping it really free form, there's like rules for everything, and the game kind of encourages a grid and battle mats, which I think tend to just limit creativity among players. They start just thinking of it as a board game, but then it doesn't have like all the fun stuff of a board game, It's hard to say. I think Axe kind of falls in the middle for me, and I'm not sure what to make of that. Especially, like the initiative rules and stuff like that. It's just kind of, it feels slow and old school in a way that I've kind of moved on from. Like, I don't even want to roll individual initiative at the start of a combat, let alone every round. And unless I grossly misunderstood something, I'm pretty certain, yeah, during each round, roll initiative. It's just, yeah, that's just not entertaining to me. I mean, I get it, but it's not entertaining. So overall, I'm kind of conflicted about Axe a little bit. I don't think, like I said, that it's the end-all be-all like OSR fantasy D20 game. I think it's a game ripe for taking stuff from. I think there's a lot of like awesome tables in here and awesome concepts that can just be slipped out and slipped into some other game that you prefer. But to run this entire game with no house rules as is just seems like a very rare endeavor. Like, it would require a very rare table where everyone is entirely invested and interested in doing all this. I mean, if I was a player and I had a DM that was like obsessed with this game, like he bought all the books and he just devoured them, and learned all the rules, and he did like 20 mock combats and 20 other mock solo scenarios so you can master everything, and he's like, hey, I know this system fucking inside and out, and I want to invite you to join me and do like an epic fucking campaign, epic hex crawl sandbox campaign where anything is possible, and I know all the rules. I will not have to look up anything. And it's like, you know what? All right, I'm in. I'm in, because I know that is going to be, as fast as it could be. Yeah, players also need to know a lot of rules, for sure. But I would put in that investment if the DM was even more invested than me, because I would be very excited to play like a venturer class and do arbitrage trading so that I could build up, you know, my mercantile guild and hire mercenaries and build armies and go to war and do sieges and like, you know, expand this entire fantasy world in a way that most games would never even approach. Like, I would be interested in all that. But I know that I would never have a group that fully invested. And I, as a DM, would hesitate to become that invested. Even if I had a group that was like, yeah, that sounds kind of fun. It's like, no, you don't understand. I need you to be fucking locked in for this. And then as a solo game, it's like, no. Again, I either want something like Shadow Dark, very lightweight, that I could slip in a lot of these other things. Because, again, you can take the rules and all this stuff for doing construction projects and just put that in another game if that ever comes up. But for the stuff that I care about or that I'm going to be doing a lot, like dungeon delves and combat and things like that, like, no, I want it to be either pretty simple or really board gamey, where I have like just 10 abilities for all my characters and we're doing these fun grid-based combats and it's like it's just entertaining. That's where I'm sort of at. So I think that's kind of it for Axe for me. I know I had a little solo dungeon plan, but I feel like it would take like 5 hours to go through. I can show you. I mean, this was it. It's called Musiad's Tomb. This was pay what you want on Drive-Thru RPG. And it was written for Axe. And it's this little dungeon. Written for Axe is kind of pointless to say, because you can run any old school module of any kind with Axe. I mean, that's kind of the point. I just wanted to see something that someone specifically wrote with Axe in mind to see if there was anything sort of unique or different, but no, I mean, this looks like any other old school module. And it would be very simple, but it's like, you know, I get into a fight with like 8 skeletons. Like, who knows how long that'll take. So, yeah, I don't know. And I know I mentioned Shadow Dark a lot, because that's really like the only old school kind of game that I have experience with. But I don't know, that game specifically to me just seems like everything kind of works for the most part, especially if you're not like attached in any way to actual old school TTRPGs. But if you're someone that's just into modern gaming, modern RPGs, but you like the idea of some of the concepts of old school stuff, that game seems to just kind of work for me. And for a lot of people, actually. But I don't want to say that this is like the end of my look into the old school gaming. Because I still might take a look at OSE or maybe something similar. And then that might help me get perspective about Axe to see how much it does right. Because maybe if you run OSE, I mean, maybe combat is similarly just kind of slow and shitty, just if you run it exactly by the rules. I mean, just like initiative specifically. What are the initiative rules for old school essentials? Similar, but the default rule is side-based initiative. So each side rolls 1d6 at the start of each round, and whoever side rolls higher goes first. So that means the DM rolls a d6 and one of the players rolls a d6. That's it. And it also has the declaration. You have to declare if you're intending to cast a spell that round or move when in melee. If you tie, you either both roll again, or actions on both sides may be resolved simultaneously. There is an optional rule for individual initiative, modified by Dex. But that is an optional rule. I mean, overall, this whole combat section of OSE, the entire combat section is like a page, you know, compared to the Axe whole section. So no, I definitely think actual old school rules are probably a lot simpler. To a certain point. But then I guess, like, what, all your attacks do 1d6 damage? That's the actual old school rules? There's no difference? No, that can't be right. Okay, you have... Oh, okay, so it's an optional rule. It's an optional rule to have variable damage compared to just d6 for everything. But yeah, again, like, if you just go by default rules here across the board, it's a pretty simple game to understand. And then you can just modify it as you go. Whereas I think Axe out the gate is just far more complicated. There isn't like a simple version of Axe. It's all pretty hefty. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, a little conflicted. I just don't think that I'll ever play it. I just don't think so. But I will be stealing multiple things from this game. And anytime I'm running any sort of fantasy RPG and players want to do anything revolving with like larger scale stuff, like hiring a group of mercenaries, purchasing in large quantities, construction projects, any sort of like stronghold stuff or campaign, anything like that, I'm gonna be opening up this book, like 100%. But so much of the rest of this can just be simplified in much easier ways and still be entertaining. Like the fucking like wilderness expedition and, you know, calculating your terrain and stuff like that. Again, that requires very specific DM and very specific players that want to think about their speed multiplier when they're in mud or when they're in the forest, you know. And they want to calculate their miles per hour based on their exploration speed. I mean, I don't think that all in general is like obscene. If you're running a hex crawl, you're probably going to have some basic rules for that kind of concept. But usually it's just kind of hand-waved a little bit, kept a little vague, and it's just like, yeah, okay, well, you don't make it as far because you're going through a jungle. You know, like visibility here based on elevation and weather conditions and knowing exactly how many feet depending on what you're looking at. If you're looking at a company of units under half moonlight, you know, how many feet can you see? You know, things like that. It's just like most groups are not going to give two shits about all that and are just going to be annoyed at their DM for bothering, at least in my experience. But again, if I had a DM that was fully locked in with all that, it's like, yeah, fucking tell me, figure it out. I don't care. Go ahead. At 450 feet for a company and half moonlight, all right. Good to know. You know? So, it's hard to say. But all right, I think that's going to about do it for Axe. So I think this mostly ended up just being a let's read, with a little bit of hands-on examples here. But yeah, you know, I think at this point you probably know whether Axe is something that you want to pick up and look into more or not. For me though, it's fascinating but not really practical. So we will leave it at that. The Adventurer Conqueror King system. My name is Mang. This has been Let's Read, and I'll see you fine folks around.